All right, everyone, welcome back to PerpDex Daily. I'm Aaron, and today we have the first ever collab on the channel. I have Mike with me. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. We just filmed your podcast and now on your daily show, I believe it is. So
Yes.
kind of throwing out a lot of content here. Had you on the live stream, did the podcast, now on the YouTube channel. So we're getting quite a bit of content out these days. But yeah, I'm Michael, Chief Degen Officer over at Velvet Capital. We're an on-chain trading platform on Hyperliquid and a bunch of different other chains. So have a great kind of view into the whole Hyperliquid ecosystem, and I've been a bull in Hyperliquid since prior to TGE, so have a lot of experience with the chain and with the assets over there. So looking forward to this.
Yeah, this conversation is going to be mostly focused around Hyperliquid Lighter. I mean, if you're one of the 10 people who subscribe to the channel, that's what you're probably watching this for, to learn about Hyperliquid and stuff like that. But I guess first, what are your kind of thoughts on the market right now, and specifically where Hyperliquid's at and everything right now? I guess we could talk about specifically the crypto market.
Yeah. So I think we're just in a normal 4-year cycle. I think crypto people are trying to figure out what's going on, but if you compare it to just 4-year cycles is where it makes the most sense, where we are right now. So I'd expect kind of the majority of the market to be bottoming probably in the next 3 to 5 months. I'm guessing August to November is my kind of time frame there for Bitcoin. I think we still have more downside left there. Probably need some big bankruptcy to happen. Not saying it's going to be MSTR, but someone big needs to head down, in my opinion. We've kind of seen that each cycle, and we've yet to see, even after like the 1010 blow up, which I thought would have bankruptcies coming, and no one big really declared bankruptcy after that, outside a few hedge funds and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we're probably in just a normal 4-year cycle, and Hyperliquid's probably been one of the more major tokens out there that have actually performed well in this bear market. I think there's other reasons to it. It's not just all crypto at this point that on Hyperliquid. And then I know Lighters performed well. They kind of had the sell-off right after their TGE and then have kind of come back, and I think they're still below all-time highs there, where they set like in the first few days. But yeah, I think we're kind of in this 4-year cycle with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, a lot of the majors that have existed outside of this past cycle. And then we're starting to see some of the newer kind of tokens and ones that are able to catch a narrative are able to still trade well, even though we're in a down part of the cycle, which is different than other cycles. And then the other difference I would say is that the stock market's kind of been performing exceptionally well, which makes it a lot more painful for a lot of people. And looking at these AI high flyers and saying, okay, there's money being printed and these AI names are moving, but why isn't Bitcoin moving? And if you look at kind of all the global investment that's gone into AI, we've kind of spent all the new money supply into the AI market, which who knows how long that'll go for. I called the top on NVIDIA back in the summer of 2023. So that was not a good bet there. But I didn't think it would go this high this quickly. But kind of what's happening with AI is kind of taking first and foremost mind share off of everything. So I think if you're not in that space, you're struggling. And then I think crypto has a lot of the same investors as AI. And then you have the 4-year cycle where a lot of people started selling crypto in August, September, October of last year. It was kind of led by a lot of major whales coming into the market who were basically just playing a 4-year cycle once again. And the more you play it, the more it happens. So, I mean, I'm not worried about a lot of the majors as much as everyone else. I think Bitcoin will be fine. I think Solana will be fine. I think Ethereum is questionable about what happens there. And then, yeah, I think things like Hyperliquid, Lighter, and a few others are really looking strong, even though we're in a bear market.
Yeah, for sure. The crypto market's not looking that good right now, but Hyperliquid's looking very, very strong. I think it's trading around $60 right now. Lighter's trading around $1.60. Interestingly enough, Lighter was up about 11% yesterday. I know it's a smaller market cap coin, but to see the strength from lighter and Hyperliquid during these times is really, really good. And like you said, like most of the crypto investors, a large portion of it, especially the retail aspect, they're just, chasing quick gains. And that's definitely shifted over to the stock market, where the stock market's been in this giga super cycle. You got, Trump doing calls and everything. It's absolutely insane what's going on over there. And it's kind of weird. Some tokens like Pump Fund, it feels like they're just dumping unlimited. Like, I don't understand how Pump Fund just continues to dump.
That was one of my, if you talked to me maybe at September, October, November last year, I thought Pump Fund was going to be one of the biggest movers to the upside that existed in crypto. And I've been shocked with the amount of buybacks that they're able to do and the amount of burn tokens and kind of how much mind share they've taken up, that they haven't been able to move to the upside. And I think their tokens, I mean, it was at, I think it was like 2 cents or 0.2 cents, whatever it was, somewhere along those lines when it TGE'd and then went up to around 8. And then now it's like around 1. I don't know the exact denomination that they're using. I know it's pretty low, but yeah, I mean, I thought that would be one of the major names that would move a lot better than it has. I think where they messed up was probably just not doing an airdrop ever. Hyperliquid, they did an airdrop. They built the community up. A lot of people have a lot invested in Hyperliquid. They've made many people millionaires just off the airdrop alone. And those people are going to support the protocol and going to build on top of it. And Pump, they've teased it for years, but never done it. And I think that led to a situation that people don't have really investment into the Pump token. And there's not really a cabal around it, if you will. I mean, we've seen kind of rumblings on crypto Twitter over the last few weeks, I'd say, about people still starting to talk about Pump again. But I mean, it's one of those tokens I'm watching. And I think if Solana starts doing really well and they go an airdrop, and I think they could flip it quite quickly, their token performance.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be, despite Pump Fund, absolutely performing like dog shit recently in the past like 6 months, I think it will be one of the best performers of the next bull market. I mean, it has the money and it has the attention, but I guess the one problem is, the airdrop thing. Their sentiment around the token is just awful. It's probably the project that has, like, I think it's one of the most undervalued projects, but it's just the sentiment's terrible. If they do an airdrop and, the bull market comes back, Solana performs, which it should, I think Pump Fund can definitely do good exit. So it's one of these things where it's like, it's tough because you're kind of, it's like, it just feels like it's been unlimitedly dumping. Like, like you could just 3 months ago, you probably thought, oh, maybe this is a bottom. And now we're at a new bottom and Bitcoin goes down to 40K and we're probably gonna find a new bottom. And it's like, when is Pump Fund going to find a bottom, before Solana kind of makes that uptick. But I do think the way I see Pump Fund is it's steroids on the bull market. So if we're in a crypto bull market and you want, I guess, a very leveraged play on that, it's Pump Fund. Because what happens is when people have a lot of cash and, the crypto coins are doing good, people want to launch meme coins. And where are they doing it? They're doing it on Pump Fund. So, I don't think it's one of these plays where it's kind of like more risky and out there and not something you should probably, not financial advice. You probably don't want to be a maxi of any sort, but it's something where it's like, maybe you just have like a SUI stack where it's like, if this thing does like a 10 to 20x in a bull market and just goes ballistic out of nowhere, you have a little allocation to it. But I think that's also, it really highlights, how good Hyperliquid does with their community. I mean, that's something that's super underrated. Nobody talks about. A lot of people in Hyperliquid, they're always talking about the fundamentals and numbers, and that's all very true. And that's the true core. But I really say that, the icing on top when it comes to Hyperliquid is the great sentiment around the token and the community. Like, people love Jeff. People love the platform. They're loyal. There's been a bunch of competitors that have popped up that really have not. They have no serious challengers, really, if we're being honest. And that's something super underrated that the team has done really well, is just keep that core foundation of the community together. There's not many people. I don't really see anybody in the Hyperliquid community bitching, really. Maybe I'm not looking far enough, but like, haven't seen really any complaining in it, and not reason to complain. I mean, it's been like the only thing that's performed. I don't know how you could be mad, but I don't know. It feels like in crypto, there's always a couple people who are just like, they'll find something to complain about.
No, there's those people that bought it like 76 for the first time that are definitely complaining. I haven't seen much of it, but I feel like there's definitely those people like, oh, I thought this thing was going up forever, but yeah, now it's down whatever 10%, and the rest of the market's down 70%. So I mean,
Yeah.
you can't. I don't think you can complain much about what's happening with Hyperliquid these days.
Yeah. And I want to kind of talk to you about lighter because I mean, it's like I feel like we could talk about all day about how great Hyperliquid is, and then it just becomes a Hyperliquid circle jerk. You know, it's just like, oh man, it's so good. It's like, yeah, well, everyone at TT at this point kind of knows that. I will say Hyperliquid's not as popular as people think outside of this tiny bubble of like, I don't even know, 1,000, 2,000 English people on CT. I don't think it's that like not a lot of people actually know what it is, like in real life, retail, etc. But with lighter, I was talking about this on CoinTalk podcast 2 days ago, and I keep bringing this up. I think they have the potential. Their numbers are, I don't think it's ever going to go flip Hyperliquid. I'm not saying that Hyperliquid is always going to be king, but I think lighter is really interesting because it's sitting around a 300, 400 million market cap. Peter Thiel's fund is the one who led their Series B round. They have Robinhood invested, Robinhood CEO shielded. So I think that's like, in my opinion, I look at lighter and I say that's a potential sneaky, kind of like pump fund, kind of a sneaky, maybe like 10 to 20x we see in the bull market, where they get a couple nice. I don't think they're going to roll out any big partnerships anytime soon. I just feel like it doesn't really make sense, but I feel like they have, their HQs in Miami. I feel like lighter has the potential to kind of be, I guess, a solid second place in the PerpDex scene. I mean, I want to know your thoughts on, kind of the thoughts there.
I mean, that's how I view it. I think lighter's a better play than Aster or one of the Solana PerpDexes at this point. But I mean, I think what we've seen in a lot of markets tends to be, like, if you look at the broader tech market, there tends to be a winner, and that winner in the market tends to take about 70% market share historically. So I think that winner is probably Hyperliquid. I think Hyperliquid coming in with no VC funding, kind of quiet, no one was farming it, people weren't really paying attention to perps. Like, perps had existed, different exchanges had run them. You'd seen PerpDexes pop up, like, I mean, DYDX, GMX, like, you had these different PerpDexes on chain, and Hyperliquid kind of popped out of the bear market of last cycle back in building in like 2022 after FTX had collapsed, really getting users in 2023. It was kind of a quiet uprising of Hyperliquid until the TG moment, when kind of the broader audience was able to kind of catch on to what was happening. And it kind of made a lot of noise because I think it ran from like $3 to $30 or something like that within a month and a half of TGE, and people got all excited about it. And so I think that kind of brought a lot of the juice to it. And then with lighter, I mean, I view it as probably the best beta play on PerpDexes. I was very bearish on Aster when that came out. I was on a live stream basically saying when it was $1.95 that this thing is probably valueless. It looked like all complete fraud to me and farming, looking at the back end and the numbers. And that was before like DeFi Llama had even like switched how they were calculating the volume for Aster, because their volume was like 250 billion a day or something like that. And it was like, the numbers made no sense. They had like $1 billion in open interest and like 250 billion a day in volumes. And it was just like, yeah, this thing's not going to hold up. And everyone on crypto Twitter was trying to get behind it, and the whole Binance cabal and all that kind of group. But I mean, I think lighter's kind of been that more institutional, like, great product that you would normally see in the tech market, where it has the backers, it has kind of partnerships. I mean, Hyperliquid's kind of going with no backers and being offshore was kind of a strange uprising. I think they just built a great product, and they've been able to attract a lot of builders onto the ecosystem and kind of gain mind share that way. But they don't spend on marketing. There's no Hyperliquid real marketing team out there. They're not doing like events everywhere. They're not doing like a Solana Breakpoint or an ETH Denver or ECC or Token 2049. They're not throwing these massive events together. But they have made some good partnerships, like with the S&P and stuff like that, where they do have exclusive rights to their perp contract. And like, I think lighter, looking at it, is probably the number 2 one going forward. And I think you can't really ignore it, especially if you're in Hyperliquid. It's probably worth putting I don't know, 10 to 15% of your Hyperliquid bag into lighter, just to say, okay, the likelihood of it going to zero is higher than Hyperliquid, but the chances that it can 20x are also higher than Hyperliquid at this point, just given the size of the market. And I don't even know like what the token market cap is these days, but I think it's sub $1 billion, right?
Yeah, FDV I think around $1 billion, but circulating 300 to 400.
Yeah. So like, could you see like Hyperliquid go to 100 billion and lighter go to 10 billion circulating market cap kind of thing? Like those kind of numbers, they don't sound that crazy. And I think you would see like in that situation, lighter probably does more X's than Hyperliquid does in terms of from here to, let's say, the end of 2027. If things go well on the perp side and both teams execute, I think lighter probably outperforms, but you're taking a higher risk bet there, especially on the downside.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's really just a bet that the PerpDex market is going to get a lot bigger from here. And, anything can happen. And, we saw this, I think really biggest example of this was prediction markets. Poly market, at least from what I saw, they had a massive lead, and Kalshi through partnerships and all this other shit was able to kind of get in there. And now it's like a pretty fierce rivalry. And at the beginning, it was really just Poly market dominating. And now Kalshi could arguably maybe even be bigger. And I don't think that's going to happen with the Hyperliquid lighter situation. But if PerpDexes and the perp market just gets way bigger and does 100x or whatever you want to, some big X number, 10x, 50x, you're going to see probably more than one PerpDex get some market share. Now, like it's like a third place trade. Like, and I don't hold any Aster. Like, I don't look at that and stuff. I don't really know much about it. I know it's CZ and the Binance Cabal's thing. But lighter, I think, is a clear second place. Like at the end of the day, if the perp, Hyperliquid goes to 100 billion, the perp market gets a lot bigger. Once again, I don't see any reason why it couldn't go to something like 10 billion. That seems pretty reasonable. They have a couple big partnerships. Robinhood CEO starts talking about it in the bull market, and all this, a couple small things happen, it could easily go like this. And I think everyone who's bullish on high, and I know on CT, there's like a lot of fighting. I see some of the Hyperliquid guys hate the lighter guys, and the lighter guys hate the Hyperliquid guys, which I think is pretty funny. We talked about this after our podcast. We did in real life how the CT dynamics and the Colts and everything. But I think the best way to play is and I think it's just, I don't like participating in those kind of things. And it's Hyperliquid's probably going to be the big winner, and you're probably going to be better off having most of it in Hyperliquid, whatever you're doing. But having a bag of lighter, let's just say, who knows? Vlad starts talking about it. They get some massive partnerships. Who knows? So
yeah, I mean, I think like in terms of Robinhood, that's the big one. Like if Robinhood were to integrate lighter, I think Robinhood's the one place that could go and rival what Hyperliquid's doing, especially on the HIP3 markets in the traditional side, because they have the whole retail audience trading on there already. Most of my friends I know that buy stocks, and they're not necessarily like finance people. They're all trading on Robinhood. And a lot of them from time to time will play in options. I think all that activity goes over to perps if Robinhood launches it immediately. And I think lighter would be the number one integration, but then they could also go, okay, we're not going to integrate. We're just going to build it out ourselves, which is another possibility. So I think that's why you're seeing like a big discount on lighter, even though people know the Robinhood connection is because they could still just say, all right, yeah, let's just build it ourselves and we own lighter. But this is a good investment, but we'd rather own all the fees ourselves and own the whole experience ourselves. So that's kind of one of those, if it happens, this is probably a 20x play from here, at least. And like the fees and the open interest and the volumes are just going to go exponential if that ever were to happen.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you on that. It's that's how crypto is a lot of times. It's, a couple big partnerships really just changes the whole game. We've seen this recently with XLM. They had their partnership, whatever, the DTTC, and they ran like 90% or something. It's, and I don't even know what's coming out of that. Most people probably don't even know what's coming out of that. Just, it's a lot of hype and, stuff like that. And I think also the PerpDex scene in itself is just, I said this at the beginning, it's not that popular right now. It really is still very unknown. crypto Twitter is an echo chamber, and everyone thinks, oh, everyone knows about Hyperliquid. The trade's overcrowded. I don't think the trade's really overcrowded at all. I think there's going to be a ton of money that's going to come into the space and everything. And it's going to be interesting. Maybe we'll see how retail reacts. Like maybe Hype might not be as popular with retail. Maybe they'll choose another coin, XRP, who knows, Pump Fund, something like that. But I think the Hyperliquid trade is still very, very early. It's kind of like you talked about, being short NVIDIA, obviously like 2020 hindsight, but it's like, it's a quality company. It's doing real revenues. It has there's no bad sentiment around the token. They have a community. They have a cult. They have a good founder, no VCs. I hate to say it, but it's like, it's really kind of the dream crypto project, dream token investment. There's not really.
If you look at the token, the one thing you have to underwrite is basically Jeff and the team, right? Because given there's no VC like funding in there, the team owns a lot, and so you have to underwrite like at what prices does the team start to unload? And I think at this point we've seen like Jeff's not going to unload a massive amount, especially not at these smaller valuations. And I think he sees the bigger picture in what he wants to do. Like, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg famously, like when he was 22, 23, something like that, he walked out of a room when they offered him like multi-billion dollars for Facebook. And he's like, yeah, we'll talk about it. Then the Facebook guys start talking about it. He's like, yeah, we're not doing this, right? Like the first thing out of his mind, like he was like, yeah, I don't care. And I think Jeff might be one of those people where it's like, if you're not in it for the money and you see a bigger picture of, okay, it might be at 10 billion valuation, but it could go to 300 billion. And you have found that's that crazy about it. And they're not trying to just cash out early, which I think is like why we saw that big sell-off right around the unlocks of Hyperliquid about a year after TG, so like last November-ish. And people were scared, like, oh, the team might just start dumping this token on everyone. So like the token traded down, whatever, 50%. But I mean, they never really did. They might have sold off small chunks, but they didn't go and just dump the entire token on everyone. And so I think that's over time, by holding, he kind of shows more trust in the whole ecosystem and what he's building there. So I think that's kind of a big risk because the team owns so much, because there's no VCs. And I think he's shown that he's kind of a based founder in that way.
Yeah, it's really a personality thing, because the one thing is that they're making ridiculous profits, not even just from the token. And it's like, everyone truthfully is in it for the money, but it's like at this point, it's like Jeff's already giga rich. I mean, he can get anything he ever wants. I mean, they're cleaning millions of dollars profit every single day. It's not just the token unlocks that's making them money. It's like, and it really is going to come down to, does he want to, at some point, does he want to, and he probably, will sell off tokens, but it's like how much he's going to want to pull off a $3 billion, like just tag or something like that, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. He has, once again, like you're saying right there, he has proven that he's like a base founder in the sense of, he's in it for the long haul and things like that, because he realizes, like all of us, it's like, it's probably going to get a lot bigger from here. Like in crypto, the whole crypto market has so much PTSD. I mean, a $15 billion market cap in 2021 was like light work. And I know it was such a different time, interest rates, everything, the speculation on the whole industry was different. But it's like this thing, there's even a possibility you could say in the future, the next, let's just say 10 years, 15 years, it could go to $200 billion market cap. There's really, I think the sky is, sky's the limit, it can get a lot bigger from here. I mean, I think BNB went from like, I think $3 to around $600 something at its top. I think it's gone to over 100 billion valuation. I don't see any reason why Hyperliquid can as well. But I want to know, I guess, for the people who've gotten this far, what is your Hyperliquid price prediction for the next 5 years? We already talked about this before.
Yeah, 5 years. I think on the podcast I said around 1,000, 500 to 1,000 area. So I think I'll stick to that one. I think that's a pretty fair valuation there. It's around 8x plus, I would say, from here. But I mean, there's a lot of factors that come in for 5 years. Who knows what happens? It's one of those things where in tech, like I mean, you could be disrupted tomorrow, no matter who you are. Like, they have a moat from how much money's on the platform and everything, but I would say, like, if things continue to go well, 500 or 1,000 doesn't seem crazy to me on that side. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in that boat as well. I think 500 next cycle is very possible, and I think long term is going to 1,000. I think those who are like, I don't want to say locks, but as long as nothing too crazy happens, I think it's going to do well. And it kind of reminds me of the video, and I don't want to compare the two companies. I don't want to compare Hyperliquid to Apple, but it reminds me of Michael Saylor in 2009, 2010, talking about Apple and how it's, just this gigantic beast. And they have, very different scenarios, but I think it's like people need to realize Hyperliquid's a very strong trade, and it's still, and it's cliche, but it's very early. It is very early. This thing can get a lot bigger. Hyperliquid, how long has the token been out for? What, like
I think it was November 24 it launched, I want to say.
It's nothing. A year and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited with everything that's going on. I guess the last thing, because we're getting close to the 30-minute mark, we could talk about, I guess, the stablecoin stuff that's going on with Hyperliquid, the recent partnership with Coinbase. I talked about it in the YouTube video already, and the stablecoin growth. But another angle people aren't seeing with the Hyperliquid platform is the fact that as their stablecoin, the amount of stablecoins on the platform grows, this is easy profits and easy buybacks for the Hyperliquid platform. But I guess could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a whole Coinbase Circle deal with Hyperliquid where they bought like exclusive rights to the trading pair essentially on Hyperliquid. So when you're trading USDC to whatever pair on Hyperliquid, so whatever contract you want to go into. And while you're in that USDC, you're like, the Circle and Coinbase are earning this treasury yield. They made a deal with Hyperliquid to become the dominant stablecoin and the primary stablecoin on the whole chain, to basically say, yeah, we'll use 90% of this to just buy back the token. So that, I think, was maybe April or May. It could have happened, I believe, somewhere in that time frame. Crypto just moves so fast, my time gets off all the time in terms of months. But yeah, I think having like Coinbase and Circle, two of the biggest companies in the whole industry, two of the most well-respected, both publicly traded, they can't just do a deal that is just going to be negative EV for them and is just going to destroy them. And they've never done a deal like that in the past with any other chain. So you look at what's happening, like what they must think of Hyperliquid is these stablecoins here could grow 100x. And so even if we're giving up 90%, we'll still make a ton of money off of this deal. And then the one thing I am watching is stablecoins have went down the last few days on Hyperliquid. So there's like the first real dip of stablecoins. Now it's like $100 billion out of $100 million out of a 2.8 billion top there. So it's not massive, but I was watching that this morning, and I think you want to see stablecoin growth over time continue to go up because, yeah, that increases the buybacks on the system. And pretty much for every $1 billion that's in like Hyperliquid stablecoins on USDC, the math on treasury bills would be around 40 million in interest. And if you have 90% going there, that's 36 million a year in buybacks. So 2 billion-ish would give you around 72 billion. Right now they're over that. So they're probably close to the 100 million-ish mark at like 2.6, 2.7 billion of stablecoins on there. But yeah, if that goes to 10 billion, now you're looking at $360 million a year going back into buybacks. And it's just like another way to be able to push the token up. And like one of the reasons why, like I worry with like certain tokens that they're 100% focused on retail and there's no real outside buyer besides retail. And I think that's a hard area to live in, especially outside the 2020, 2021 world where everything was just promise and no one had really delivered anything. So retail could get super excited at that time, but a lot of people got burned. a lot of people have been burned in crypto, where I think relying on retail long-term to be the next buyer in the token is a very hard place to be. And I know we got in this on your podcast a little bit, but one of the reasons why, like, I'd be bearish something like XRP or like Cardano or one of these older tokens is pretty much like you're relying on retail audience coming in, and you're relying on them to buy up at high valuations. And I don't see the next buyer really being there versus Hyperliquid. They don't really need that retail to come in, because over time they'll just buy up more of their token, and that's what they're doing every day. So they're basically acting like a massive retail audience every day, but based on fundamentals behind the token. So like they're making annualized, they'll probably be over $1 billion in revenue this year. Plus you have the stable coins, which will probably be another 100 billion yearly. And those numbers are only kind of growing from here. So I think you're going to just see more and more kind of pressure on the upswing there. And then I also think it's a platform and a layer one that you can, if you're a traditional finance person, you're not a crypto person, you can look at something like Hyperliquid and you can make sense of it. You can use it to trade oil. You can use it to trade stocks. You can use it to trade metals. You can use it to trade whatever you want. And then you start using it to trade, and you might say, okay, let me just look at this platform in general. And then you see, oh, they're making all this money. They have 10 people working for them. They don't need to be like the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, where they have thousands of people. I don't even know what the head count is at those places, but my guess is in the thousands, tens of thousands of people. And like Jeff basically checkmated with 10 people working for him. And like one of the greatest like accomplishments I think he did was basically saying, yeah, F you to all these big exchanges. I have 10 people, and now you're going to go fight Congress for me. Like, that you have the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ literally fighting Congress over what Jeff is doing and the CME, and basically saying, you need to regulate this guy because he came in with 10 people and said, checkmate. I know how to make a business that can rival yours, and I don't need anyone to help me work on it. And I have no costs, and you guys have massive costs. You guys need to be spending all this money and everything and regulations, and I can just go out there and build a platform that's better than you, easier to use than you, faster than you, and good luck.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at Hyperliquid and why I think it's massively undervalued. Even though crypto people might not think so.
Yeah, and it's super bullish to see that these companies that are going out to Washington to try and fight Hyperliquid. I mean, it shows that they're under threat. If they weren't doing that, it means they don't really see it as a threat. But because they're doing this, they feel that, hey, this is going to take a lot of our business and stuff like that. And they don't want that to happen. And also Hyperliquid, unless you're using a VPN, you can't even use it in the US. I mean, like, that's huge. That shows how early we are. I mean, if that isn't like just one of the biggest signals how early we are, like, yeah, you need a VPN to use it in the US still. So I think there's still a ton of upside on the board, and especially with all the regulation coming in. And like we talked about this on the podcast, the head guy from the CFTC talking about Hyperliquid and all this, kind of stuff. But we're at the 35-minute mark. I think we're going to kind of wind things down here. We had a good talk about Hyperliquid. Mike, you know a lot about Hyperliquid. Where should people find you?
Yeah. So best place is on Twitter. So at DegenMike _Mike14. So I have my handle right here. I post all the time. So yeah, follow me there. That's probably the best spot. And I also created an Instagram account. So I think I have less followers than you. I think I have 3 followers there so far, and you're one of them so far. And I think that one's just DegenMike14, no underscore. But yeah, I just post short clips there and stuff like that. But yeah, my main thing is Twitter these days. So yeah, give me a follow there, and check out Velvet also if you want to go trade perps. And we built tools around perp trading. So yeah, our goal is to basically bring all the different types of markets together and give you an easy look into spot, yield, perps, everything like that in one place, and give you AI tools. So yeah, come check us out there too.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to us. We're posting daily content, Hyperliquid Lighter, the whole PerpDex scene. Make sure to go follow me on Twitter. Aaron Solana with 2 A's at the end. And we have a Discord now, so make sure to join the Discord. It's free. We're talking about whatever you guys want, but it's mostly focused around trading and all that. And if you enjoy this episode, make sure to leave a comment, let me know. We'll probably have Mike back on in the future. And yeah, thank you all for watching.